uh, let me tell you that I am one of you, right? Like you all are pharmacy teachers. Myself is a pharmacy teacher. So whatever I talk here in my presentation, it is equally applicable to me also. Uh, Whatever the topic I have chosen, that is the modernization in pedagogy, which strengthens the education. So I am going to present my slide is visible to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, what do you mean by pedagogy? So this
Sir,
word
slide
is
is not in full mode. It's showing that sidebar and the slide.
yes, sir. What I was saying?
Sir, slide is not in the presentation mode.
Okay.
It's going to be changed, but it's not in the full screen mode.
Okay. Now it is visible. Full mode.
No, sir, slide is visible, but not in the full mode. If possible, then sir, bottom right side, there is the one bar. Directly click from current slide. Better you can choose presentation from the right bottom side. One cup like arrow is given, sir. Symbol is given
Okay.
there. At right hand lower side, sir, presentation slideshow. Slideshow types menu is given, sir.
Press F5. Okay. Now.
No, sir, it's not working. Yeah, it's going to be changed. No issue, sir. You can present in this manner,
No
sir.
problem. Where it is given, that's I am finding out.
Sir, in right bottom side, there is the three symbol is given. In
Yeah,
first symbol,
activities. It is given as activities.
yeah, in three symbol, there is the slideshow. One of the symbol represent the slideshow.
No, it is like breakout rooms, polls, question answer, recording, and whiteboarding.
No, in presentation, in your PPT, sir.
Okay. Now, is it visible? Clear
It's
slide?
visible in a screen mode, sir, not in a full screen mode. Sir, one you can do one thing
Sir, in your
before sharing. Yeah, that symbol.
I have put slideshow.
Sir, before sharing the screen, you can end this. You can end the window sharing, and then make the full screen on your desktop or laptop. Then you can. Then after you can share the screen. Then it will not create any problem. First, make the slide in uh, full screen mode on your
Okay.
laptop. Then share the screen, sir.
ஒரு பேங்களோட விலை 25-ஆ? டோட்டலா எல்லாம் சேர்த்து ஒன்று இப்போ ஒரு நாலு நாலு சேர்த்தா 54. ரெண்டு வாங்கினா 24. ரெண்டு வாங்கினா 25. ரெண்டு வாங்கினா 25,000.
Now,
No, sir. It's showing the only the desktop presentation, not the full screen presentation.
okay.
If
But it's
possible, then
visible.
share your screen, sir. Share your screen.
Okay.
End the slide slow and share your screen, sir. Entire screen. Then participant will see the slideshow.
But sharing is not showing the PowerPoint presentation option.
No, your entire screen, sir. There are the three options. You can choose your
Now,
entire screen. Yeah, sir. It's visible now.
clear?
Yeah, clear, sir.
Okay. Sorry for disturbances and inconvenience to the participants. Pedagogy, it is originated from the Greek language. Meaning is to lead the child. A Greek word pedagogos. Pedo, the meaning is child or a boy. Agogos means a leader. So pedagogue means a school teacher or an educator. So pedagogy is nothing but it involves principles of methods and instruction delivered to the students. It is the science and art of teaching profession. And we can consider pedagogy as a method that will lead to knowledge transfer to the students. So the aim of pedagogy is a full development of human being to the skill acquisition. There are basically five pedagogical approaches. One is a constructive, second is a collaborative, third is a inquiry based, fourth is a integrative, and fifth is a reflective. all these 5 different levels, or you can say all these 5 different kinds of pedagogy, that is combined to achieve the academic goal. Constructive pedagogy involves the gaining of the knowledge, gaining of the knowledge, which is taught by the teacher during the class session. So learners are involved in the session. Learners may be involved physically or mentally or both. And learners learn the concept, helps the brain to get the information more clearly. What is the collaborative pedagogy? Collaborative means where small groups of learner or as a whole team, they learn the concept. They share the educational experiences. So what is the role of teacher here? Teacher is nothing but a facilitator. He may join this group and listen their discussion, their experiences, and whatever queries in the learners that can be solved by the facilitator. So that is called as collaborative pedagogy. What is the inquiry based pedagogy? It is more challenging situation where approach build around certain problem, specific issues, challenges, and here the pedagogy is mainly based on case studies. Whatever the learners have learned during the session, that learning or that knowledge can be applied here in inquiry based pedagogy. So learner, they can put themselves, they can feel this situation, and they can use a real time discussion to get answer. Facilitator may set, or they may facilitator, that means teacher, they can set a such kind of problematic questions, kind of problematic scenario which requires critical thinking and ask them to solve. So basically inquiry based pedagogy is more towards the application based learning. Integrative pedagogy, where the learners, they interact with each other, they share the ideas, there is a cross fertilization of idea and concept. So when all learners, they together discuss such ideas and concept, right, so that will be more fruitful for learning. They discuss concept applicable to other environment, whatever they have learned, whatever teacher has taught, whatever knowledge they gain in the previous pedagogy, and put this concept in a different condition, situation, right, to solve the problems, right. So stretching this kind of pedagogy, it stretches the mind of students and it brings new ideas from the brain of the learners. So an integrative kind of pedagogy, such a session is a very vital. And if people are to see result from this learning session, what is the reflective pedagogy? Reflection means one kind of result, whether the learners have, which kind of knowledge they have picked up, which kind of concept they have picked up from the previous pedagogical approach. So here it allows learner to review their learning, allow the learners to share their learning point with others, and they consider and reflect on the value of learning experience. This kind of pedagogy, it is very good for facilitator also. Facilitator can decide whether the student have achieved the goal or not. Facilitator can judge the learning has happened in the students or not. So it gives us, that means us means teacher, time to contemplate learning point. And we can decide which areas we have worked well, which area needs improvement, which is worked very less. So reflective pedagogy is not only helping to the student, but facilitator also gain from the reflective kind of pedagogy. Presently, we all employing a traditional teaching system and combine with somewhat the multimedia kind of teaching. So traditional teaching system is one kind of synchronous method where teacher and students, they assemble for interaction for definite time and a definite space. Traditional teaching system is more content oriented. It is teacher centered, and it is restricted towards the definite syllabus. So it is just transmitting the information from teacher to student. We rigidly follow the curriculum without active participation of stakeholders. That means this kind of teaching system is not student centric. It is a teacher centric, or you can say that it is lecture centric. Teachers should more emphasize on what they teach rather than what the student get, what the students learn from our lecture. So it is, this kind of system is more highlighted on the syllabus, and definitely there is a lack of quality assurance, monitoring whether the teaching learning process happened or not. Learning outcome not comprehensively planned. We are not in this kind of system. The outcomes or learning outcomes are not emphasized more. It is an improper alignment of all educational objectives, activities, and assessment. So specific objectives of learning, it is less emphasized in this kind of traditional system. So there is no assurance of achievement of skills like critical thinking, problem solving. This kind of ability we cannot judge. And there is a lack of emphasis on communication skill, analytical skill, problem solving, critical thinking. So all these abilities are not judged in traditional system. That's why what happened? What is the result of that? The students, they are lack of skill. What they learn, but skill is not developed. They do not have working attitude. And the present teaching system cannot satisfy the industry need. That's why it is not at par with other countries' education system. And our educational courses are not at par at international level. Apart from that, there will be unemployment. So this traditional system, it is an outdated one, where we are making graduates, but they are without skill. So that's why education reforms is required. And that's why in present topic, the modernization in pedagogy, how does it look like? That means how does it is helpful? So modern pedagogy in higher education, they regards students as an active participant. That means they more emphasize on a student-centric education system. It also involves shaping of the learning and teaching environment rather than just passively gaining the knowledge. In this kind of innovation in pedagogy, students are highly motivated. They are driven towards the learning journey. And because of that, it empowers the practical skill in the student, gives deep knowledge by using interactive teaching methods. So, what is the expectation in modern pedagogy? That is making a educational meaningful. Teacher is also playing a main role in pedagogy, and that's why quality of educational system depends on quality of teacher. What is the role of teacher? There must be updation in pedagogies. That means teaching approach must be updated by us. To meet new educational challenges, teacher has to reflect upon and to update his teaching practices. We have to implement such a practices that it sparkles the education in the students. We have to implement such a method which is aimed to prepare the student to meet new contemporary challenges. What is contemporary? Contemporary means what the students after getting graduation face the challenges in their work. So we have to employ such methods so that students are able to face these new challenges. Innovation in pedagogies at the practice level, it must be seen as a normal response to address the daily changes in constantly changing classroom. That means whatever we employ, whatever we implement the newer pedagogies, it should be at a normal response. That means we have to routinely apply this kind of pedagogies. Innovative pedagogies must facilitate development of complex skills. So as a teacher, we have to think which kind of innovative pedagogies helpful to the student to build a critical thinking, problem solving, collaborative skill, innovation, digital literacy, and adaptability. Educational practices must be employed such a way that it empowers the learners. It gives competencies in the student to cope with constantly changing the world. We are knowing that world is changing so fast. Employer demand is constantly changing. They need a skillful youth for their enterprises. And in such cases, our method of teaching is such that we can develop competencies. This pedagogy, modern pedagogy, should build competencies to cope with constantly changing world demand. So for a teacher, innovation in pedagogy must not be treated as extra. This pedagogy must not be considered as extra, but this innovative pedagogy should build our creative, intuitive, and personal capacities. So what I want to say is that the newer techniques, teaching techniques, modernized pedagogy or advanced pedagogy, they should build our capacities also for better teaching learning. So what are the objectives of advanced pedagogies? To implement the ways to enhance teaching learning process. That is the first objective. Second objective, the advanced pedagogy must stimulate the student for their involvement in teaching learning process. Learning should be activity based. That means student must be engaged in learning processes. They take part with enthusiasm in learning processes. Pedagogy must stimulate thinking process in the student's mind. Student must be able to solve the problem by applying their knowledge. And this pedagogy should develop mind for innovation and research. Because as we know that today's world, they demand new things. Everywhere we are facing more or less problems in our day-to-day life. So education must develop a mindset in the students for research and innovation. And for that, this advanced pedagogy should be helpful to the students. So overall picture is to create a skillful students and make the education meaningful. So these are the basic objectives of advanced pedagogy. Certain advancement which may be helpful in our day-to-day teaching practices. What is that? First is a crossover learning. Here, the teaching learning, it is in an informal setting. Formal settings means we are knowing a classroom teaching, whether it is an online class or offline class. But informal teaching, informal learning settings is nothing but visiting of a different sites like a museum, like a open library, that is a surroundings, right? Wherever the learning is possible, visit that places, which should be appropriate to our branch, right? For example, say suppose we are teaching the botany, definitely a botanical garden where a learning is in informal settings. So application in this one is nothing but it is an effective method where a teacher can propose and discuss question in the classroom. After discuss a question in the classroom, learners explore that question while visiting a museum or any informal setting or a field trip. And learner get experiences. They learn from this open library and report their experiences, try to get answers whatever the question teachers have made during the classroom, share the findings back in the class, so everyone in the group or everyone in the class get a experience from that. And it gives a wider opportunity to support learners in recording, linking, recalling, and sharing learning event whatever taken place in open library. So it is nothing but it allows learners for authentic and engaging learning opportunity. Why it is called crossover? Crossover because here there is an amalgamation of a classroom as well as informal setting of the learning. So that's why crossover learning, it is compared to other just a classroom teaching, it is more fruitful. There should be a learning through argumentation. Here argumentation means student in their mindset or in their mind, questions must be arise in the topic, subtopic, or any kind of educational process. So for that, teacher's role is very important to initiate this process. Teacher can spark meaningful discussion in classroom and encourage the student to ask open-ended question. Teacher can ask to restate the remarks in more scientific language, to develop and use model for constructive explanation. So overall, when the teachers play a role to inculcate the or to spark the meaningful discussion in the classroom, it naturally increases reasoning ability of the student. So this is a second way that important is a learning through argumentation, where in classroom all students they get parallel, they can get the knowledge, they can think on problems, right? So this is the second way, learning through argumentation. Third pedagogical approach, that is advanced one, that is computational thinking. It involves problem solving, breaking, how to break large problem into small components and recognize how to relate this component to the problem, identify and developing the steps to find out the solution. Computational thinking is more fruitful in mathematics, science, art, and in other setting. So overall, computational kind of thinking, these methods stimulate thinking process in the student to tackle complex challenges. So overall, this method of pedagogy develops the skill, develops the thinking abilities in the students. Fourth is a learning with remote laboratory. We are knowing that physical laboratory, a student can perform the experiment and in lab, right? They are engaged in doing practicals, but certain time they didn't get enough time to learn the concept, to learn the basic principles of that experiment. And in such cases, if student can learn the similar experiment with the remote lab, it is possible that student can gain knowledge, can understand the principle at home also. That means it gives a learning flexibilities. What this remote lab is made up of? It is made up of scientific tools. A remote lab consists of apparatus or equipment that provide views of experiment. That means it is one kind of virtual laboratory. We can also call it as a simulation kind of experiment, learning with a remote lab. In certain branches, even it is possible robotic arms and cameras are also involved in the remote lab. It offers the hands-on investigation and opportunity for direct observation. So here student can directly correlate what is given in the textbook and what we obtain in the practical. So it is a better teaching learning experience with the remote lab. The most important thing is flexibility of time. Second thing, repetition. Student can use again and again this kind of facilities. So this kind of pedagogy, it is a based on improvement in conceptual understanding, concept of basic principles, concept behind the basic principle that can be learned with this remote lab, learning with the remote lab. Embodied learning, it is one kind of self-awareness, interacting with real and simulated world to support the learning process. This involves technology, where wearable sensor gather personal, physical, and biological data, visual system that track movement, and mobile devices respond to actions such as tilting and motion. So this kind of learning where interaction between real and simulated world, learner can feel, learner can feel the changes taking place, learner can experience the process. The only thing is that this method is more applicable for physical sciences like a friction, acceleration, force, or to investigate simulated situation such as structure of molecules. So it also helpful in the chemistry also, right? So embodied learning, uh, it is, but it involves technology. This method, adaptive teaching, we can also implement very easily in our day-to-day teaching practices. We are knowing that all learners are not same. They have different intelligent ability. They have different socio-economic background. They have different kind of mindset. But whatever we are giving them, most of the educational presentation and our material, they are same for the all. This creates a learning problem. It puts burden on a lower level of learner. And that's why it is difficult how to engage this kind of learner with the content. So adaptive teaching is nothing but a one kind of solution to the different level of learners. In this kind, we can get the data about learners' previous and current learning. We are knowing that any kind of topic when we are teaching or a subtopic when we are teaching, definitely it has some base. The learner reach at which level we can identify by getting this data. And as a facilitator, we can create a personalized path. No doubt we do not have enough time, certain time, because of the we are engaged in many academic activities. But in a whole week, we can make certain period for adaptive kind of teaching. And in the current PCI syllabus also, that tutorial class is made compulsory. So in this time, in tutorial class, we can go for adaptive teaching also. They also provide various tools for monitoring one's progress. These tools can be arranged by teachers only. How to know at which level learner reach. So learners can control their own pace of study. So this is the adaptive teaching we can implement. The another pedagogy is analytics of emotions. So students' emotion is a reflection whether the learning takes place. Technology also implement automated methods also for eye tracking and facial recognition. But as a teacher, from eyes of the student, we can track, from face, we can recognize and analyze them, whether they have achieved or not. So when we develop such kind of techniques, our abilities to analyze their emotion, we can judge their learning. Say suppose a typical cognitive kind of learning, it includes whether the students have answered a question, how they explain their knowledge, that is a cognitive achievement. Non-cognitive achievement, non-cognitive aspect, how we can judge whether the student is frustrated, confused, distracted, disengaged. So by emotions of the student, we can know, or we can use a better pedagogy for them. So these 7 methods uh, I have discussed for newer techniques, right, to engage the students. So if we teach today's student as we taught yesterday, we rob them of tomorrow. On the left hand side, majority of us, right, we are knowing that the older methods where students participate in learning, which is teacher driven. It is passive kind of teaching. And when we shift, when we change, the new concept is a learner driven. It gives choice to the student. Students are more engaged. That means doing the work, task oriented. It gives flexibility, independence of learning. Participation of the student becomes active, and that's why it is purposeful education. So where to start? We all are knowing the different uh, the cognitive domains also. We are also knowing the learning outcome, like a course outcome, a program outcome. So I'm not discussing that. But I must say that for modernization in pedagogy, there must be need to change the curriculum. So curriculum should be based on program outcome. It should be comprised of all components to achieve all desirable outcome as per program outcomes. Components may be a coursework, maybe activities we are giving to the students, maybe tasks we are giving to the students, like projects, preparing models, make a PowerPoint presentation, asking that to build up a simulation kind of experiment. This is a work we are giving. So components may be the classroom teaching, a coursework or activity we are giving to them. And evaluation pattern also should be changed. They must assess each and every component. And that's why more emphasis is given on continuous assessment rather than a assessment at the end of certain uh, semester or at the end of at every month. Like that, we are taking a test examination. Rather than our evaluation pattern should involve continuous assessment of student. That is the need of our. Before my lectures, the other professors or the uh, faculties or resource person, they may have talked about outcome-based education. So outcome-based education is playing a pivotal role in modern pedagogy. When we think about syllabus, we can say that our education should be outcome-based. For that, we should build or whatever those who are developing curriculum, it should be outcome-based. Teaching learning should be also according to that. And assessment is also the meaningful one where the outcome-based education can be assessed. So this is the development process, right? And we should follow this, like identify the broad goals of a specific course or program. You prepare the objective of each goal. That means state the objective for each goal. Decide measurable outcome and define that outcome for each objective. After analyzing them, review that tools of assessment, review that tools of pedagogy, and improve them. So this is the development process in the teaching learning. In teaching learning, we are involved in theory classes. We are taking practical, which develops skills in the students. We ask the students for seminars for a communication skill. We give tasks, we give the certain assignments which are involving problems and ask the student to find out the solution. That means it develops thinking ability. And for a collaborative teaching, for a collaborative pedagogy, we ask them for a project also. So what are the learning stages? You might be knowing the Bloom taxonomy. According to that, knowledge at the base level. That means ability to recall, remember, to get information. Level 2 learning is a comprehension. That means ability to understand the learned information. Third level is applicability of the knowledge or information in new situation. Fourth level is a analysis. Break down the information into different components, correlate, interrelate these all components for learning experience. Fifth level is a synthesis, where different parts are arranged together in a new way to create a new thing. So learning outcome at this level, that means synthesis level, it is called as creative ability. And major emphasis, it is on generation of new structure. Here structure means student must have ability, creative ability to create a new thing. That means mindset is towards research and innovation. By application, whatever get the knowledge, whatever they learn the classrooms. So when the learning ability reach to this level 5 synthesis, it is more related to creative ability. Level 6 is a evaluation, which involves highest cognitive ability. It helps to identify the strength and weakness. Students give arguments to us. Student asking the questions. It involves conscious value judgment based on defined criteria. So why I am telling you these levels? Because as a teacher, we should judge that our teaching process, where the students reached at which level, whether reached at the level 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. And we can improve our pedagogy, our teaching approach to improve the level of learning in the students. We call it as Bloom taxonomy, right? So remember, like as you go up from remember to create, the cognitive ability is step by step increasing. Reasoning ability is step by step increasing. So what is a lower order thinking skill in student and what is higher order thinking skill in the students? That we should analyze by our pedagogy. Generally, teaching at graduate level, they usually involve 1 to 3, level 1 to 3. That means remembering, understanding, and applicability. In every course, our pedagogy should be like that. All Bloom levels should be addressed. That means we should try for that. As we are knowing that all students are not equal. But certain students, they need help. In next slides, we are also going to learn what are the barriers in the students. So in teaching, in thinking skill development, the role of teacher is very critical. Teacher can employ such a method to motivate and teach the student by utilizing different tools of pedagogy to improve thinking level. Teacher can plan and utilize different teaching tools and techniques to improve learning. Certain concepts are difficult to understand. We have to change our pedagogy. Evaluation is playing a critical parameter, or you can say critical role in the teaching learning process. We all are knowing when there is no evaluation, there will be no learning. And that's why constant assessment, constant evaluation is a part of recent education policy 2020. So evaluation, generally we are employing a written test like a subjective or objective. We take a oral questions like a viva. We allow student for a group discussion, and we are involving in the group discussion. We are giving assignments, projects like that, or as a tool. So every component should be evaluated. There should be a compulsory evaluation. It is essential to give the grade to each performance, and the evaluation in the student and teacher. There must be a self evaluation, peer evaluation, as well as evaluation by teacher. So evaluation in modernization, modern pedagogy play a good role. As we know, the feedback must be authentic one. We are knowing that students are young generation, and that's why certain times, because of their changing mind, because of that physical and mental development as well as physiological development in students, there must be a dislike and likes. So when we get feedback from the student, it must be authentic one. And feedback plays an essential tool for improvement in teaching learning. It is very important component, and a healthy feedback is a backbone for improvement in teaching learning. Those who are involved in the AICT application process, the AICT is also emphasized on students' feedback regarding our lecture. This is somewhat, I know that feedback is always not a true one, but that's why I put stress on healthy feedback. Certain students which are uh, very genuine, and we can get feedback from that one, so we can change ourselves also. By feedback, teacher should identify their weakness. He or she can also get feedback from employer after getting graduation. When a student get a job, from employer also, a true employer, or we can say which are authentic one, that can give idea. Teacher should plan strategy for improvement and implement that strategies. So overall, the modern pedagogy where student is at a center of teaching learning activities. But the thing is that there are some barriers. Which kind of barriers we face in day-to-day our teaching practices? One, first thing is that we all are knowing our students are highly heterogeneous. They are schooling from different mediums, like a vernacular. Vernacular means local native language. And we are knowing that in a professional courses and even in graduations, the English or a international language, it is more emphasized. All way of answering it is in a English. And that's why those students who have their school level, it is at vernacular medium, they have problem in understanding. They have problem. That means a language is a barrier in teaching learning process. They are from different socio-economic background. That is another barrier for us. Certain times students have joined any course by chance, not by choice. Certain time there is a compulsion from family also, compulsion from friends also. My friend is doing this kind of course, that's why I have joined this. So any kind of driven force which make compulsion for the student to join a course, that means student, they have joined a particular course by some driven force, not by choice. And in such circumstances, motivation to learn may be very low. And that is challenging for the student, for the teachers. These students, they are not trained for hardship in learning. Many of the students, they are indifferent, they are ignorant. They are not serious about that achievement, educational achievement. All students, they do not have equal abilities. Their learning abilities are different. They are of different cognitive level. That means intelligence quotient of all students are not equal. And that's why teacher can play a role of facilitator. Basically, there are three categories of student. One is a type A. These students, they are well-mannered, well-disciplined. Their academic goal is clear. They are goal-oriented. What they want to achieve, it is clear in their mind. And that's why they are highly motivated. And we can call this student as academically committed. They will learn everything, whatever you teach, they will learn with equal enthusiasm because their goals are clear. Type B student, this kind of student, they need just degree to get the job. And goal of learning is absent in such student. They want to get degree with the minimum efforts. They put minimum efforts. They are not doing they will not learn by its own. We can call them academically not inclined. That is type B students. They only learn to get a degree and to get a job. Type C, they do not bother about education on its outcome. They are totally indifferent. They are not even knowing what they are studying in a particular course. એ શું ભણી રહ્યા છે એમનો પણ એમને ખ્યાલ નથી હોતો. And they are coming to college just to pass the time. This kind of student, they think that why to sit at the home rather than we should go to the college just to make a time pass, to meet the friends. And that's why they are not bother about the education. These three category we are daily facing in our class also. So what is the role of teacher to all students? Because since in the class we are delivering the lecture equally for all, but students are not equal, as we discussed in the previous slide. So that's why method of teaching the students A may not work for student B. Different categories of student need different approach. If you employ the methods of B for C, it will not work. So for type A kind of student, teacher's role is to just guide, just push that student because they are well oriented, goal oriented, academically oriented. They will learn. And here our techniques are more towards the level 5 and 6, what we learned previously. 5 and 6 is the cognitive level, problem solving, critical thinking. Type B student, generally they are more in every class. They are more in number. Type B, they just learn, they are studying just to get the degrees. And they need help to reach acceptable level of achievement where our teachers' efforts are needed. In type B student, our role is to change the mindset of students towards learning, not to just get degrees. As we know that nowadays there is one kind of practice that no student should be failed. We can call it as dropout ratio should be 0. But in that practice, students are always thinking that whatever we'll do, we will pass, we will clear the exam. That means they are not inclining towards learning. So problem arise when this kind of student goes to the working place where critical role they cannot play. They devoid of hard work. They devoid of discipline. They devoid of thinking abilities. That's why they do not grow also. And here our role is to change mindset of such student. We can motivate, inculcate to the students towards meaningful education. What about type C? Here we require highest efforts because they are not inclined towards education. And we must employ a proper method for this kind of student. First, there is a need of psychological treatment. We have to interact, one-to-one interaction with this kind of student. And their psychological barriers should be removed. It is not like that all type C students, they are mentally disabled. No, it is not like that. There are students which are having the creative mind, but they are not inclined toward education. Many reasons are there. And that's why psychological treatment for such student is required. And when we are a true teacher, when we take the student of B and C towards the student of level A, level B and level C student, when they learn in a manner like a student, it is a great challenge. And if we do that, we are the real teachers. Now, as a teacher also, we are teaching at different levels. We are teaching at different level. All teachers are not teaching at the same level. At level 1, what is the main responsibility? Main responsibility at level 1 is knowing the course content, deliver this course content clearly in the class in detailed manner, and thereafter, after teaching this all, in this level, we leave on the student whether to attend the class, whether they listen carefully, whether they have noted the important points in their book or a notebook, whether they are reading the material. That means we leave on the student. And that's why here teaching strategy is held constant in form of lecture. Just we are taking lecture. So level 1 is at the course content delivery, nothing else. And here the academic goal is to just complete the course. I'm not criticizing anyone because I am one of you. So please do not take this as a criticism. Just we are thinking over that. Difference in performance at this level, whatever difference in performance of student, it is based on ability of student, based on how student is motivated, what is the sort of is schooling, what is socio-economic background. So on this factor, performance depends. And there is no motivation to learn at all. And that's why when teaching at this level, the student lack suitable study skill. At this level, definitely students are not engaged. And that's why they are not academically oriented. It does not occur to the teacher to question himself. Certain time, what else could I do to make them learn more effectively? So that kind of thinking is not arised certain times. And as a result, until we ask, our teaching is unlikely to change. Until we ask that, how could I do to make them learn more effectively? What are the different ways we can implement? Until we think that, teaching is unlikely to change at level 1. What is level 2? Level 2 is, it is teaching only, but making the students to understand is teacher's responsibility. Means teachers thinking that the students have understood or not. Teachers think that, or teachers improve their teaching or finding new way of teaching, change the teaching tactics to make teaching more efficient. But the main component, learning, whether the students have learned or not, that is still at the low level in the teaching level 2. Improvement in teaching level, utilization of modern techniques, utilization of new pedagogies, we are implementing, we are changing. But at this level, learning is again dependent or depending only on teacher. However, at this level, we can say that teaching is better than level 1. And most of us, including myself, we are teaching at this level. And that's why level 2 is also a deficit model. There is a notion, there is a notion for blaming the teacher at this level. If the notion is that if the student does not perform, the teaching is not effective and up to the mark. So teaching at level 2, now at level 3, which is more focused on student. It is student-centered model of teaching. Purpose of teaching is to support learning, create a learning environment. The goal is to achieve certain academic outcomes. Goal is to achieve to assure the development of skill. So when we teaching at level 3, it will be more fruitful and the education becomes meaningful. What is the limelight? When we are teaching at different level, it is no longer say that I taught them but they didn't learn. When we are as a teacher, we should not think like that. Expert teaching includes mastery over a variety of teaching techniques. Technically driven teacher, those teachers who are techno savvy, they implement variety of methods, right? But unless we assure that learning has takes place or has taken place or not, these all are irrelevant. As I told you, evaluation assessment is also a important activities. Question session in tutorial class, question session in practicals, formative assessment, self-assessment, problem solving, open book test, conventional midterm test. We can employ any of these techniques, but we should assure the learning according to Bloom taxonomy. That means level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we have to employ a method to assess each level so that the modern pedagogies will be fruitful. So modern pedagogies involve outcome driven assessment process. Continuous assessment is a basic part of outcome driven assessment. Quality assurance. These methods should be measurable. Methods should be fair and reliable. Results should be reproducible. Whatever method we employ, the student result should be reproducible one. More focused on achievement of skill. That means our assessment techniques. It should be or it should focus on following parameters. This is the assessment cycle, right? Step 1, define result to be measured. That means we have to set certain parameter that this result we must be achieve or student must perform up to this result. Identify the data sources, review that data, review that existing what you are employing assessment method. If needed, additional method or measures to be taken, implement that, and again go to step 1. So assessment cycle must be for a continuous improvement in learning process. As all of you know that students only perform when they know or when they realize the fruit of success, when they realize the effect of failure, when they get encouragement, when they are inspired and motivated, and definitely when there is a competition student try to perform well. So we have to build such an learning environment. Role of technology is inevitable in modern pedagogy. We are knowing blended classroom. We are knowing flipped classroom, as in many of conferences you come across that word, right? Flipped classroom gives flexibility to learn at home also. In flipped classroom, the teacher gives material, student learn from that material, and the next day in the classroom, the teacher can more focus on achievement of learning. That is possible in flipped classroom. Blended classroom, where utilizing different techniques as well as offline classes, it is blended in a manner. So blended classroom, flipped classroom, we are knowing and we have follow during this COVID practices, COVID-19 conditions. We have followed that also. Definitely a multimedia learning is a more interactive learning process where teacher, student, they are interacted more. As we discuss remote lab is nothing but a simulation technology, learning tool. It gives virtual reality. It helps to come across real problem. Critical thinking process is enlightened, and ultimately it serves as well-established learning tool. Simulation technology, it also gives a flexibility of timings. Student can perform this simulation technology endless time to understand the basic principles. We know smart board and interactive boards, which gives the uh, diagram, video, images. We call it as visual uh, teaching learning process, and visual methods are more helpful than only audio. Interactive whiteboard. So what is the advantage? We can keep soft copy, can draw contemporaneous diagram, flow chart, and material can be retained on the board. That is the biggest advantage of interactive board. We all familiar with Google Classroom. So all these methods, they are techno savvy, and drastically we change from old paradigm to new paradigm where role of student is more important than teacher. It is penless, paperless teaching learning. So interactive teaching is a changing the role of teacher in education. I'm not telling that offline class or a classroom teaching is not required. No. But in a present condition, these technical aspects or role of technology is also inevitable. And that's why we have to combine the different methods apart from classroom teaching. And that's why role of teacher is as a facilitator. These are certain educational websites where you can get a good videos, and educational videos definitely stimulate student for learning. Animation videos are also available on different websites. Amongst them, one is a TED Ed Video Library. Second is Explania. Explania is a very interactive platform, and it mainly covers on geography and biology. One of the best website is a Khan Academy, where you find a number of uh, different video, different concept, right? To make the student to improve the understanding of the students. How stuff works. This is a edutainment website, fun with learn. Coursera, it offering different courses, online courses from leading university of the world. A very good website, Coursera. One of the best website for learners at the university level. And learner may get certificate on completion of courses. Phrase mix, language barrier can be overcome by phrase mix. One of the best website to learn English phrases. Improve students reading writing skill by these websites. Time for learning. And since I am from and we all from pharmacy education, the www.pharmacytimes.com, it is a good website which gives online tools for different topics of the pharmacy. It also covers updated news regarding the drugs. In present COVID condition, we are knowing constantly new things are, we come across constantly new things. New drugs are available, right? Monoclonal antibodies. A new drug recently, that is molnupiravir. So everything which is updated one, very immediately it is available on pharmacytimes.com. We can ask the student to visit that website. Another website, that is tldrpharmacy.com, right? So apart from classroom teaching, we can parallelly we can also inculcate the student to visit these websites. So as a good teacher, what are the characteristics? One is a self-awareness. Second is a knowledgeable. Third is a value difference. Analyze student learning. Takes risk in teaching. And these are the 6 key attributes in the students. So thank you for listening me. If you have any questions, the session is open for questions.
Session is open for the question and answering. If any participant have a question, then they can ask to the sir.
I have tried to my level best try to explain the importance of pedagogy in our teaching learning process.
Thank you very much, sir. You have covered, I think, all the points from traditional teaching method to the modern method. In traditional method is this teacher centric and the modern method is the student centric. You have already said that in the traditional method there is the lack of skill, and nowadays there are the competency is the increasing, competition level is getting increasing. So it's essential to upgrade our teaching skill. And you already talked on onto the crossover learning, competition thinking, and problem solving learning. Today's students, it's essential to upgrade the student skill also, not only the teacher skill but the student skill also, because in we need to give them aware about the technology, because it's very much difficult to conduct the lecture on Google Meet and Zoom and WebEx. So first we need to update the student skill also, sir.
You
And
are right, sir. You are
yeah,
right.
Yeah, sir, and it's essential to take the feedback from the student side because it's increase our capability and skill. So you have
Sir,
already,
but in that case, the feedback should be genuine one. Certain
yeah,
times students have own likes and dislikes to a particular teacher,
yeah.
and in
Sometimes,
such cases,
sometimes those students who are strict in their lecture, they can give the negative feedback. I
yeah,
can understand, sir. It's essential to give the right feedback, and all the points you have covered very fruitfully, sir, and it's really a good plenary session, and the participant enjoyed this session, and we are very much thankful for you for giving your valuable time for the FDP program, sir.
thank you, sir, for giving me an opportunity, right, to meet all of you at this stage or a platform.
If sir you permit, then we can take a snap with the participant.
Sure.